Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience. Luke Taylor here, back in the saddle with my guy Sam Davidson. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, also Spotify. Give us those 5-star reviews, and follow our YouTube page. If you're watching it, smash or whatever they say, hit the YouTube button.
Just hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. Just show us love.
And due to my lack of creativity and technological skills, we have a new Twitter handle, which is LT and Sammy D1 on X, Twitter, whatever the hell it is. I had someone hacked our first account, and then the other one, something with emails. But you know what? Onward and upward. I told Sam we have a lot of strippers and exotic dancers following us, aka bots, but I do not follow them back, so that's probably a good thing.
Let's get into the episode. What
That's a minute of just pure garbage, right?
It's all good. We've got some incredible content the past couple weeks, and then a couple episodes coming up the next few weeks. But this one is really special just because of one of the college basketball cities we talk a lot about is Philadelphia and the Big Five, and just the legends that have come out of that city who have played there. I mean, it's one of the basketball meccas in the world, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, and I would agree. In this conference and this team, no offense to the American Athletic Conference, should have stayed in the Athletic 10. Or the Atlantic 10. I'm sorry. I love the Atlantic 10, man. I love the old school days of the Atlantic 10. Like you think about
old school A10, old school.
Well,
A10.
You think about A10 basketball. You think of Marcus Camby. You think of Lou Rowe. You think of Lionel Eltrine Simmons. You think of Eddie George, Aaron McKee, Mark Macon.
Yep.
I loved Mark Macon. He had some handles on him. But
just a ball player.
Yeah, but I'm excited. And Temple was 16-20 last year. They finished tied for 10th in the American, but we have Adam Fisher from Temple, and he's the Owls. I actually called them the Hawks to the AD. But
what I love about the season last year, I mean, I know you mentioned their record, but how they finished, right? And that's one of the reasons we love college basketball is anybody can win on any given day, especially when you get into March.
Yep.
They went on a run last year in conference. You had kind of the whole country who was following that conference tournament kind of cheering for them because they were that underdog story that week. I mean, they came in the 11th seed. They beat UTSA by 3. Then they beat SMU with the upset by 15 points, beat Charlotte with the upset by 4 points, beat FAU, right, by 1 point. Like, I mean, they showed up in March. And I mean, I think it's always that time of year that you just get that rejuvenation from your fan base. Cause again, it's like you get on a run, anything can happen. And Coach Fisher kind of talks about that week in the beginning of the episode, but then goes into this upcoming season and what they put together over the summer, which is pretty special and very impressive.
Yeah. I've actually got a new title, March, Anything Can Happen.
There you go.
But it's interesting, and we've heard this from many of the American Athletic Conference coaches. We've interviewed 4 so far, which is, I think, pretty darn good. And it's a really good coaching conference. I mean, you look at Memphis and Hardaway. You had Dusty May at Florida Atlantic. You got Coach Amir at USF. I mean, there's many. And then these 2 coaches we have, and there's many others. Really excited about Coach Jacobs at FAU too. We've had him on the podcast. But what all of them have said, at least 2 or 3 of them have said, so that's not all of them, but 2 or 3 of them have said the American Athletic Conference was the most picked over conference of any conference in Division I basketball this year again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to change. I think you're always going to have these conferences like the American, and that, you get these players who just have really standout seasons, right? and then they get picked over, whether it's, they put up 20 points against a Big East school or, an ACC school or whatever it might be. And now they're in the spotlight to be recruited at the end of the season.
Right.
So it's, it's also, you mentioned the coaches, this is going to be one of the biggest, best conferences to pick coaches from too, to move around with different conferences and stuff. But this next guest we have, born and raised right outside Philadelphia, played high school.
Wait, time out. You just started a little rap lyric right there. Born and raised. Will Smith, baby.
You like that?
Yeah.
Coach Adam Fisher, man, like really great episode here. Going into his second season as head coach at Temple, comes from a great basketball pedigree. He mentions mentors like Jim Larinaga, Micah Shrewsbury, the Wright brothers, played under Derek Wright in high school, and then was on Jay Wright's staff at Villanova. Like it's
you forgot Coach Chambers too at
Coach Chambers, Pat Chambers. Like the kind of pedigree and coaching tree he comes from, it's first class. And so I expect big things from the Temple Owls these next few years, just based on his knowledge of the game and how to put a team together. And I really enjoyed this next episode, so I hope everyone else does as well.
All right, let's get into it. Let's listen to Coach Fisher talk about the Temple Owls on the latest and greatest Full Court Press podcast. You know what it is? A college basketball experience.
Let's get it, LT.
Sam, I was telling you a little bit earlier when we're waiting for Coach as he was talking to the real head coach's wife. It's hard for me still as a basketball purist realize the Temple Owls are in the American Athletic Conference. Now, I love the American Athletic Conference because as coach, as you don't know, both I coached and he played in Conference USA, which is kind of a byproduct, but whatever. It is what it is. But we got Coach Adam Fisher of the Temple Owls, of formerly Atlantic 10, now the American Athletic Conference. Welcome to the Full Court Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Luke and Sam. It's great to be here today.
Yeah. Now you're a Central Bucks East High School legend.
Far from it.
Known as a defensive specialist. And I want to know, the only question I've got for you, then Sam can ask all the questions.
You only have one question for him today?
Pretty much. I'm not 100%. No, I'm just kidding. So you played for Derek Wright, which is Jay Wright's brother.
Yes.
Did Derek Coach Wright dress as nicely as Coach Jay Wright?
He dressed really well, but I don't know if anybody dresses like Coach Jay Wright, but he did dress very well. He did. So it must be in the family. Great family, great people, great dressers.
Yep. So
nice.
Temple Owls.
Let's talk a little bit about that first season, with as the head coach over there and everything, making your way back to the Philly area, where you were born and raised and have some good roots. And talk a little bit about that season, but I really want to talk about like that conference tournament, you guys showed up and everybody we're talking to during the off season, it's like, that's what they're preparing for right now. It's like showing up at that conference tournament and saying, hey, let's give ourselves a chance to win the tournament. So,
look, everybody tells you year one as a head coach is probably the hardest. It was a great experience. And I told some donors the other day, we played really well in our two closed scrimmages. They're secret. Nobody's allowed to know about. So you feel good. Then you play the first couple games of the year. We were 3-0, and I'm like, man, this is a lot easier. And then we had a powerhouse Columbia come here, and they beat us. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting in my office for like 5 hours, and I'm distraught. And so quickly you learn you can't be too high or too low, right? And I think that's what we had throughout the season. We had peaks and valleys. We had some really good things, getting to play for a Big Five championship, being from this area. Like, that's important to me. The Big Five games. I mean, we went to Drexel, sold out, it's packed. We get to play, LaSalle here at home. And, of course, it's the return of Fran Dunphy, which is a legend here in Philly and at Temple. And, we go to triple overtime. It was crazy. And then we played St. Joe's in the championship, and they beat us there in front of like 15,000 fans. So some great experiences. Then there's nothing in the first-year head coach, playbook when you lose 10 in a row. What do you do? So we lost 10 games in a row, and it was brutal. Everybody knows it, but we didn't change. We didn't run more. We didn't yell more. We literally were like, we're so close. I think 6 were one possession with like 2 minutes to go. So we just stayed the course. And it kind of goes to Sam, what you're asking about that conference run. I think that's what made us successful. Like, we didn't change. You adapt different things, right? Hey, we're going to play the ball screen a little different, do this and that. But our approach and our philosophy didn't change. And each player talked about that when we met with them at the end of the season. They were a little bit surprised. We didn't come in yelling and screaming, and we were upbeat. We still played music. Now, again, when they left practice, I was probably sitting in my office like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But letting them see our positivity. So, that was great. We finished the regular season 4-2, and then we went to our second home. We played 9 games in Texas this year. I call that our second home. So it was just a great run, each day. And it's such a testament to our players, just that getting through the first game. We win the last game of the regular season at the buzzer in Texas. Then we busted the conference tournament. You win the first, you win the second, and throughout the tournament we were down. So we just kept saying, hey, we've been here before. I had really no idea what was going on. I think that's the staff and I probably slept about 2 hours a night. And here we are playing for a chance to go to the NCAA tournament and a conference championship on Sunday. Nothing like it. So we kind of tell our team all the time, Sam, we want to play meaningful games in March. I don't want to ever set the limit and say we want to make the NCAA tournament. That's our goal, because then you get there and it's like you've already achieved it, right? So for us, we want to keep playing meaningful games in March, and we did that. We didn't go as much as we would have liked, but I was proud of our guys for that response that week.
Yeah, the way the transfer portal's going, at this rate, you'll never lose 10 games in a row because you can get some new players in the middle of the season.
Did that rule pass? I know it was on the docket.
You know what? I'm throwing it up on Twitter, X, and I'm sure that's going to get some traction to the 4 people that follow our new Twitter account due to being hacked and locked out. But no, I mean, that's crazy. And I know that we've talked to some of your colleagues in the American Athletic Conference. They were really kind of pissed off at you guys in UAB because, the problem with, and we've talked a lot about this, is like American Athletic Conference is a high major. It's not a mid major. It's not a Power 5. Well, what is it now? Power 5. It's not Power 6 anymore because who cares about the Pac-12? But what is your kind of thoughts if, with conference expansion, like a league like American Athletic Conference, where does that kind of fit in your kind of sphere?
Yeah, I think first off, I'm really excited about having a new commissioner. I think Commissioner Resco did an amazing job. I got to talk to him a few times. He was awesome. Every time I talked to him, he called right when I got the job and talked Temple history. So I'm excited about the leadership. I think that's really important, having great leadership in your conference. We're in that like awkward spot though, right? That's why we had the most transfers, I believe, of any league in the country. It's like, are you Power 4, right? The way it's structured, you're not mid-major, you're in that middle, and there's so many great coaches in our league. I was blown away by the coaches. The preparation was off the charts, and then the players. Like, there's so many really good, talented guys in our league, and I think that's why you saw a lot of guys leave. To be honest with you, it's just a new norm. But I was really impressed. The league and the new teams that were brought in really impressed me this past year.
Talking about like the outgoing, incoming transfers, that kind of happens during that 2 to 3 month period. Like, I mean, you've coached with and under some legendary coaches. We already talked about, Coach Wright. Then you've got a great relationship with Larinaga and Micah Shrewsbury at Notre Dame and everything. Like, nobody's ever prepared you for like what you're going through right now. So like, what does that look like with you and your coaching staff?
It's chaos. It's organized chaos, right? But it's here. I think, going back to who mentors you though, like, right. They learning from Coach L and Coach Shrewsbury, like they're just great people and they treat people the right way. And I think that's how we went after the transfer portal. We're honest. We tell kids, hey, nobody's going to be promised they'll start. Nobody's guaranteed any minutes. And the couple of the transfers we got this year, we recruited 6 years ago. Jamal Mashburn Jr. is a guy that when I'm at Miami, I'm sitting with Coach Larinaga in a movie theater parking lot at midnight on June 15th of his junior year, because you can call kids at midnight. So we went to the movies so we would stay awake. And there's Coach L and I calling kids, offering them scholarships on the phone. And
what movie did you see, Coach? What movie did you see?
I couldn't tell you. Coach L's the movie buff. He was my boss. He'd say, we're going to the movies. I said, okay. I had no idea, probably 95% of the time, what we were going to see. And but that's the relationship you build. And Coach Huger, who's at Miami, is on our staff, was the head coach at Bowling Green for 8 years. Like, again, knew his dad growing up. So that's the relationships. Lynn Greer's another guy we offered at Miami, and when he was at Roman Catholic, and he's on our team. So I think relationships matter still. And I think being around great people. I learned that from Coach L. I learned that from Micah. Like, being around great people is really important.
It also does. Just wait, Sam. It also doesn't hurt. Hey, Sam. It also doesn't hurt that someone's dad is on the staff.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good hire, right? And the funniest part about that, though.
Play?
Oh yeah, he looks the part too. He looks great. He can get out there and hoop. And the funniest part about that, when we hired his dad, I was really excited. There was even a Coach Larinaga connection. He played overseas with Coach L's son. But the funny thing was, we never thought we'd ever have Lynn, because the rules when we hired him was you couldn't transfer twice. So Lynn had already transferred from Dayton to St. Joe. So that thought never crossed our mind at all. And but no, it's great having him as our chief of staff. He does an amazing job. He's a legend around here. So it's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have heard several stories about, like, okay, you recruit somebody, coming out of high school, it doesn't work out, they choose another school. And then now with the transfer portal opening up, like, you already have that bond and trust built with a lot of these guys around are you keeping an eye on those guys during the season? Like saying, hey, if they have a really good season at a lower conference, or they're not getting the minutes at a higher conference or something like that, are you are you and your staff kind of taking notes of that throughout the year?
Yes, and I think our staff does that, right? We have some people that track that. To be honest with you, with everything going on during the year, I only worry about my team. So it's, I try to watch Miami Hurricanes game, a Notre Dame game when I can. I'm focused on our guys, but we do have guys that track that throughout the year. And I think it's why, again, Jameel Brown is a transfer we got that we recruited to Penn State, played at Penn State when I was there for a year. And I think having Cam Winter on our staff, a former teammate of his, it is some of those connections. And he's from Philadelphia, right? So I think guys that understand Temple, right? Like, I know you guys understand the history. Some of the young men you talk to now have no idea about Temple. And you mentioned some of the greats to them, Mark Macon, right? And Eddie Jones, Aaron McKee. And they'll be like, oh, Coach McKee. And I'm like, no, he was like an amazing player. And I think when you understand that history, that's really important.
So you take the job, okay? And obviously, when you think about Philadelphia, you think of cheesesteaks, you think of Rocky Balboa, you think of Barkley, Dr. J, Allen Iverson, many great things. We've heard a lot about Philly basketball with Coach Gerlifson, who you probably know is at USF. We've had him on the podcast, and a Philly native. What team, 2 questions I've got for you. What team did you pull for growing up in the Big Five? And from what you knew before about Coach Chaney to being at Temple for a year, what are kind of some of the stories and kind of aura of Coach Chaney?
No, great questions. I think growing up at the Big Five, it was Temple and Villanova for me. And having been able to work now at both is like dream come true. Like, I know people just say that stuff and it's like coach talk nowadays. Like, oh, it's my dream job.
So who would you pick, Temple or Villanova?
I was split. I really was. I think
no. You can't say that because you're the head coach of Temple.
I'll go politically correct now. It was Temple back then, but I did love the John Chaney team.
That's the right answer right now.
There's nothing like Big Five. Like that's what's cool though, right? Like that's unique. And having those relationships, like we do a lot with coaches versus cancer. And some can see it as it's a lot of time that you got to take on top of what you do. I think it's awesome. Like the coaches, like we all get together. You spend a lot of time together. There's so much respect. I ask Coach Dump all the time questions. I'm like, I'm not afraid to ask him. He's been everywhere, and the great respect you have. So split there. Now the Coach Chaney. Trying to think what I'm allowed to share and not share. So we've really tried to dig into the history of Temple. So I've had Coach Chaney's son speak to our team before our first practice this past year, because I think it's important for our guys. And John Chaney Jr. and his wife Maria, they've been around our program. They're welcome at anything we do. And we've brought a lot of former players and teams back to honor them. There's so many greats. And we had one of his teams back. Lynn Greer did a great job getting them back. And these guys hadn't seen each other in 20-something years. And the stories they were telling about Coach Chaney, I mean, I was crying. It was like one of those days where we had a Saturday practice. We're all exhausted. I'm like, I'll spend an hour with these guys, have lunch. We were in there for like 4 hours. Like, just they were telling Coach Chaney's story after Coach Chaney. And, just the precedent, right, of You hear right away about the 5 a.m. practices. I got asked that immediately. I thought about doing it one time a year. Still haven't gotten there yet, but we're thinking about it.
Take your time.
Yeah, but he set the standard, right? He brought in great young men. He believed in them. But I think the one thing about you hear from the former players is how much he cared about them as people, and he stayed in their lives years after they left Temple. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is the impact he had on this community, this city, and the amount of lives he touched. And I think that's more important than all the wins he's had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've got, I'm sure you guys have some summer workouts going on right now. Like you mentioned some of the new guys coming into the locker room, Mashburn Jr., Greer, Brown, Gray, the 7-footer from Tulsa, Kada, I think is how you pronounce his name, like
Big Mo, Big Mo.
Yeah. I mean, as a
Big
defensive
Mo.
specialist, like having a 7-footer on your team, like how is that going to play into this year's roster? And is anybody surprising you in these summer workouts that you were like, wow, man, this is looking good?
Yeah, I think you got to piece it together like a puzzle, right? So I think, look, we started a 6'5" center. So now when you look up and there's a 7'1" guy out there, you're like, whoa, what is this tall guy doing out here on your team? And as great as all these transfers are that we got, and we're really excited about them, we were like pumped. We targeted some guys. I was so proud of the guys that stayed. And, we do some things on social media. It's kind of corny, I know, but when kids commit, we do gifts and it gets people excited. But we spent one day thanking the guys that returned. It was the day the transfer portal ended and guys couldn't leave anymore. And I was grateful to those guys: Zion Stanford, Shane Dezzoni, Steve Settle, Matteo Piccarelli, Quante Berry, Connor Gale, our walk-on. Like those 6, like that's really hard to do, right? Like you have other places to go and to come back. And they've been great. They've really set the culture last year. I thought everybody uses those buzzwords, right? Culture is so important, but it does, it matters. And I think those guys really help the new guys come in and have established and continue what we worked on all last year.
Yeah. What is, if I ask you one word to describe the American Athletic Conference, what would it be?
Oh, good one. I'd say it's challenging. Right? It's challenging. The competition is challenging. The travel is challenging.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yes. But it's a challenge every night, right? Like, look, we know where we were and in 5 league games. I don't think a lot of teams wanted to play us. And there's other teams that were right near us that you just didn't want to play, right? Like I thought Wichita State had a really good team. Unbelievable coach. Like you don't want to play Wichita State in the tournament run. Like they're really good. So I think there's a lot of challenging, like really good players that cause a lot of challenges for you, and you have to prepare for each game differently. It's unique, right? It's challenging and unique league.
I would agree.
When you look, now that you have like one season under your belt as head coach, like, and you've gone through this, what we'll call an off season, but you're just as busy, if not busier, scheduling, and scheduling non-conference, like what does that look like for Temple, and like, I mean, what's it look like this upcoming season? And then is there kind of a strategy on how you're doing that based on what your team looks like?
Yeah, it's I'll stick with that word. It's challenging to schedule. Yeah. We're in a weird spot. Look, I'll be honest with you, we've reached out to a lot of schools about home and homes and Power 4 schools wanting to play, and it's tough, right? A lot of leagues have gone to 20 league games. Then you play 3 in a tournament, and then you have one conference versus conference challenge. You're at 24 out of your 31 like that. And then you're going to buy certain games, right? So it's like at that Power 4, it's hard. So we will stick with the Coach Chaney. We'll try to play anybody anywhere. But it's just not as easy as it used to be where, hey, we're going to come play or this or that. So we have some games we're excited about. I think we want to set ourselves up to have a great conference run. So I know getting to play Florida State in a great event in UMass that's run by the Basketball Hall of Fame. They do a great job. We have a neutral site, again, with Basketball Hall of Fame to play Rhode Island. So you're coming back with some of those, A10 rivals.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we're going to play Boston College, which I think will be a real challenge. ACC school, great credit to them to doing a home and home. So I think you're trying to set yourself up. You're going to get 3 Big 5 games, and the way that flips. So we'll have to go on the road to LaSalle. Drexel comes here, then you play for hopefully a Big 5 championship where the 76ers play. So scheduling has become really, really challenging. We are not finished our schedule. This is the longest I've ever gone, and I did the schedule for a long time. So the stress in August, I thought during a dead period would not be there. It still is, but we're very close to being finished. But it has become really difficult to schedule.
Yeah, you and everybody else. I feel like everybody we've had on the podcast, especially the last month or two, it's like, hey, can we talk about the schedule? Yeah, we still got 2 more dates to fill. I'm like, yeah, who was it? Coach Copeland from Wagner, I think, still had 1 or 2 dates to fill. Who else? A couple others, Sam, had some. It's like, I feel like that's been the most challenging part with the kind of never-ending NIL and transfer portal. It's really scheduling because, before you could plan your team 2, 3, 4 years out. Yeah. Now you're playing your team 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes out. So
it's so true. You're waiting to see who gets who. You're waiting, first off, who do you have, right? Like that's the craziest thing. Like we still have an open scholarship that we had, visits still going before the dead period happened. So you're like, man, your own team's not set, and you're worried about who's on this team. So, but we want to schedule a challenging schedule the best that we can. And also want to have some really good home games and go to some neutral sites, right? If you look at a lot of the at-larges, they come from neutral sites. You go on the road. So I think we'll be on the road more than we have in the past. We'll have some neutral sites more than we have in the past. And it's just to put your program in the best position come March.
Yeah, Sam, more importantly, here's the other question I wanted to ask. Since I'm thinking very deeply. So how would you say your relationship with your wife has been the last year due to all the challenges and, summer workouts? And I mean, you got a dead period pretty much today, right? Today's the dead period. Boom.
But because of you guys, I said I had to come in the office.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, come on now.
My wife is a superstar. She's awesome. We have a 3.5-year-old who we've made now cheer for 3 teams. She grew up a Miami Hurricane fan for 6 months. Then she went to Penn State, and now she's here at Temple, and she yells "Go Owls" all around the house. But you got to have a great wife. I mean, she's in charge of the moving. She had to find the house. She's in charge of everything that's non-basketball related. Then I'm like, oh, by the way, you got to come to this dinner with me. Oh, by the way, you got to get a dress. It's a gala. She'll be like, you just told me this 2 days before I got to be there. She's fantastic. And we're really lucky too. Our families are about 45 minutes away. So awesome. My in-laws are close. My family's close. So having a great wife is a key to winning games in March too. That's for sure.
You hear that, Sam?
I hear it, man. I got a 4-year-old too, so I know how it works. But we've stayed in the same city, so I can't relate. Not many people can relate to what you and your family have gone through the last 3 seasons. And
nothing better than the next morning, Daddy. Did your team win? Oh man, I hope you get it next time. Thanks.
That's awesome. That's so cool. How has the the Temple community recepted you and your family? I mean, being from Philly in the Philly area and having that kind of knowledge, and like you said, I mean, there's a culture to Philadelphia, right, that you bring to the program. Like, how has that community and the boosters and the donors kind of received you?
They've been awesome. It's been with open arms. We do a summer series of guest speakers. And we've been able to have some really amazing guest speakers talk to our team, nothing about basketball. So we've had Dr. Amy Goldberg. She's the dean of the Temple Medical School. She's fantastic, awesome. We've also had Drew Katz, whose family, has done a lot for Temple over the years. And, David Edelman, owner of the 76ers, come speak. We had Kevin Nagandi, Temple Tough. Nobody more Temple than he is, right? And then Stanley Middleman, owner of the Phillies. So we've had these amazing guest speakers. And I think the community's been great because we try to get out there. We partnered with Tyrese Maxey and we played at Navy before Thanksgiving, and then we got home whatever time it was, and we had to be somewhere at 7:15 a.m. to give out 1,000 turkeys and do a big food drive with Tyrese Maxey and his foundation, and it was awesome for our players. I think to get the respect in Philadelphia, you have to show you're a part of it, and we've really done that this year. I think we've really got out in the community, not just my family, but our players will go read to people in the schools and things of that nature. I think you have to show you're a part of this city, and then you got to play a certain way, right? Even when we weren't winning, I felt like the city was behind us because they knew we played hard, we played together, and we gave it everything we have. And I think when you do that in Philadelphia, they're going to respect what you do.
Yeah. Sam, I think he's ready.
All right, Coach, we do a little thing called the shot clock. LT is going to fire off, 5-6 questions. Most of them are pretty easy. They may trip you up here or there. Feel free just to let whatever answer comes to you first, whether it's one word or you want to tell a short story. I'll turn it over to you, LT.
Okay. We're going to go very soft and easy. Just, So What is your spirit animal?
The owl.
There you go. That's a good one.
Cool. Okay. If they made a candle after you, what scent would it be?
Ooh. Did not prepare for this correctly. Candle after me, something really nice and sweet. I like things that smell well. Maybe some type of fruit too. So like a beautiful smelling strawberry, banana, maybe even a little daiquiri flavor in there too.
Yeah, a little tropical.
Yeah.
What did we ask Coach Amir? What did he say to me? Gunsmoke? He gave me the look that you gave.
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder. It's like, okay.
It's like, all right, let's move on.
We're going to move on. We're not going to discuss that one. One word to describe the Big Five.
Classic.
I like that. I was hoping you'd say the Palestra has really small bathrooms and locker rooms. Funniest recruiting story.
Funniest recruiting story. I know I don't know if it wasn't really funny at the time, but we, you know how you piggyback off an official visit. So you work with the other school and like they go to the first school first and then the next school. So we were the second part. And I booked the plane ticket and I messed up a city. I won't get into too much of it. I didn't realize this city is in two places. So I picked the further one that was a couple-hour ride rather than the one that was like 36 minutes probably from that campus.
Wow.
South Carolina. That'll be my clue for you as you can think about it. But yeah,
you booked for Charleston, West Virginia. They don't even have a freaking coach. They don't even have a freaking airport.
But I'll tell you this: the kid committed. So I wasn't.
There you go. There you go.
He said he committed, but did he sign?
He signed. He was on campus and he showed up. So
love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Who was your favorite college player growing up?
Grant Hill.
Legend.
You tell me Villanova and Temple, and then you throw in Grant Hill, and Grant Hill's not even from Philadelphia.
Something about Grant Hill always loved.
Yeah, I embarrass myself. You know how when you like say something in your mind, and so we're at the Final Four this year, and I'm not a Duke fan or wasn't, but I mean I respect him, and Grant Hill was just different. I did like Grant Hill, and he walked right by us, and I'm like, what did I say, Sam?
I don't know, but he just like looked at you and he's just like,
I'm like, fucking Grant Hill.
Sam, did you point to make sure that Grant knew it was him, not you?
Yeah,
I don't know. And I said,
it was pretty obvious. LT's like 8 inches taller than me too, so that helps. When you can hear that voice and you're like over 6 foot, both people, and you can talk. So, but yeah, LT was like, that's effing Grant Hill, and Grant's like, we're like with the media too, and like,
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Good dude though, for sure.
Yeah, very good. So if they made a Hollywood movie about your life, what would the title of the movie be called, and who would play you in the movie?
Ooh. Jeez Louise, these are the tough questions. What would it be called? You got me on this one here too. Jeez. What would
are you a drama guy or a comedy guy?
Comedy guy.
Right.
I'm a little taller than Kevin Hart, so it wouldn't be Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Skin complexion wouldn't resemble each other, but that's okay. Yeah. It's 2024. Anybody can be anything.
I would probably just be happy with anybody that would play me. The fact that they were making a movie, right? All right, I'll take that. In terms of the title, the Fisher family. So I get my family in there too.
Oh, there you go.
My wife can be part. I hope she watches this. Get some anniversary coming up.
There you go. Coach Larinaga is the movie guy. We've already learned in this episode, so we'll have to ask him that question for you.
Ask him. He's the best.
Yeah. Last question. This is really easy. I'll set it up for you. The song that best describes you.
I'm trying to figure out. It's going to be a Billy Joel one. Billy Joel is my absolute favorite. Got to see him play 149 at the Garden. Was awesome. Song that best describes me, though. Let's see. Piano Man's like the classic. I'm trying to think. I'll probably just go with Piano Man. Probably sitting at the bar. Bartender knows my name. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Okay. So, Coach, you won nothing. You got nothing. You'll probably never talk to us again, but whatever.
Yeah,
we got what we need to get.
I texted my SID. Are you kidding me? This is what I came in for.
Those were tough, LT. I do have one more question for you, Coach, and it's going to be about the Big Five in Philly. Okay, so I mean, because you're very well educated on it. We've asked a couple other guys from other college basketball meccas like Philly, like somewhere like Chicago or New York or things like that. If you could pick your starting five from anybody who's played in a Big Five school, which five are you putting on the court?
Man, you guys have great questions. I'll tell you that. This is why I have to have a staff. I thought this would be vetted first. Let's see. Mark Macon.
Oh, yeah, he was money. Denver Nuggets.
Let's go. So you're saying guys that played in the Big Five?
Yeah,
correct.
It could have been 50 years ago. Could have been last week.
Anybody? Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
That was easy.
Let's see.
The L train.
Jameer Nelson. Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, Jameer Nelson.
So you got a little small backcourt.
L train. We'll go LaSalle. That's a good one right there.
LaSalle Simmons. He was a really good tenor saxophonist, I believe.
Oh wow, I didn't know. All right, so we got 4. Is that right? Did I get 4?
Yeah, the L train, baby.
Who else? Let's go. I'm a homer. I'm gonna go Aaron McKee.
Yeah.
So it's funny how you talked about a 6'5" center, and you have like a 6'9" power forward, and everybody's like 6'5" and below.
That's it. Rebound and run.
Yeah. 4-in-1 zone.
Nice. Well, Coach, we're going to turn it over to you last minute of this episode. Anything you want to share to the students at Temple, the boosters, the donors, anybody in Philly? What are you looking forward to this season? Any games you got circled? How's the team looking? Anything you want to share?
No, first off, thank you guys for your time. You guys do an amazing job. I think it's just believe, right? That was our motto all last year. And for me, it takes everybody, right? Like we want everybody to be a part of this. Professors, we do professor night where they come and watch practice because I think they only see you play a game. So we've invited in the fall semester and the spring professors to watch what they do and see it and then eat pizza with us after. We want the students to enjoy it, right? Like there's nothing better than going to a college basketball game and you're filling the student section and you're yelling crazy. That's what it is. It takes all of us, right? Like, I think if you have that home court environment, especially in this league, right? Like you got to travel far to get here, right? I want it snowing on North Broad Street. Get off that plane and have our fans going crazy. So I would tell you, it takes everybody. It takes all of us. But we want to do something special. And, this is a place with great history, but it's also our turn. We have Team 129, and we talk about that a lot. This is Team 129's chance to add to the legacy that's here.
Yeah. So I got to stop. So you said about inviting professors to practice. When I played sports 30 years ago, that's the only time you might see your professor all year.
Our guys go to class.
I'm right in some of these programs.
They're
years ago.
Week stretch though. Where
I think my wife's calling again. It was great to talk.
Hey, Coach, thanks so much. We're going to be cheering for you. Just stick with us 1 minute. We just got to just when we finish up. But don't forget, Sam. I think this is a great episode. I'm really excited to see what Temple will do. Maybe Jamal Mashburn Sr. will ever get back to me after our rendezvous in Phoenix, but we won't go there. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Give us a 5-star review. I know Coach Fisher's giving us a 1-star as we speak, but hey, whatever. But we'll be back next week with another American Athletic Conference foe. We're going to go Mean Green, North Texas.
Yes.
On the Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience.
Let's get it.